Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the advancement of the colors and remain standing for the playing of the United States National Anthem. Please be seated. In 1947, the National Security Act created the National Military Establishment. Over the years, it has redefined how the United States has addressed the issues requiring military action. Since 1947, there have been many changes in all 5 services that have become the Department of Defense. Over the last 50 years, the United States Army's fundamental purpose has remained clear: to fight and win the nation's wars. The Army of 1947 has transitioned from its largest and most powerful land force of 89 divisions and 6 million soldier wartime force to a peacetime force of fewer than 600,000 soldiers. However, peace would not last. America's Army fought from the Korean Peninsula to South Vietnam, where they served with distinction and valor. Since 1989, America's Army has won victories in Just Cause Panama, liberated Kuwait, provided humanitarian aid and Provide Comfort Turkey and Iraq, fed starving people during Restore Hope in Somalia, upheld democratic principles in Haiti, and today America's Army is upholding peace in war-torn Bosnia. As we approach the new century, led by the Secretary of the Army, the Honorable Togo D. West, Jr., no one can predict our next battle. But we are certain of one thing: while the circumstance around us may change, the heart of America's Army remains the same. Men and women of character, selflessly serving our nation. Representing the changes of the Army's past 50 years, Acting Sergeant Major of the Army, Command Sergeant Major James McKinney, will now transfer the colors from 1947 to 1997. With the passing of the National Security Act in 1947, the Marine Corps gained primary responsibility for developing amphibious warfare doctrine, and the Marine Corps' role as a force in readiness was defined by law. During the Korean conflict, the Marine Corps masterfully executed the landing at Incheon, the liberation of Seoul, and the legendary campaign at Chosin Reservoir. 794,000 Americans served as Marines during Vietnam. The face of the Corps was changing. The numbers of female Marines tripled, and humanitarian missions captured the spotlight. The evacuation of U.S. citizens from Grenada, Liberia, and Somalia, refugees from Iraq, Turkey, and Haiti, all found rescuers from the United States Marine Corps. Desert Shield and Desert Storm provided Marine Corps might as a modern force. Operations Restore Hope in Somalia and Southern Watch in Bosnia-Herzegovina exemplified the diverse roles our Marines are called upon to perform. Without a doubt, the Marine Corps, in the 50 years since the National Security Act took effect, has honed its time-tested missions and traditions to outfit the nation's premier crisis response force in the Department of Defense team. Sergeant Major Lewis G. Lee, Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, will now transfer the Marine Corps colors from 1947 to 1997, representing the changes in the Corps over the past 50 years. During the past 50 years, the role of the United States Navy has remained clear: the world's preeminent sea power. The Navy's continuing mission of forward presence has never been more important in maintaining today's peace. The post-World War II force of 842 ships and 500,000 sailors has evolved into a finely honed force of 353 ships, with over 394,000 men and women, serving proudly throughout the world. Honor, courage, and commitment has been tested in the past 50 years by the Operations Desert Strike, Joint Endeavor, Desert Storm, Urgent Fury, the Cuban Missile Crisis, and conflicts such as at Incheon and the Mekong Delta. The Navy's focus of pride, teamwork, leadership, and operational primacy has maintained it as the very best Navy in the world. When a crisis occurs, it's easy to understand why the President of the United States asks, "Where is the nearest carrier?" Headed by the Secretary of the Navy, the Honorable John H. Dalton, the United States Navy and the Marine Corps are meeting every challenge forward deployed. The Navy proves time and again, in operations wide and varied, that it is ready to keep the peace, anytime, anywhere. Signifying the changes of the Navy over the past 50 years, Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, Master Chief Ron Crittenden, will now transfer the Navy colors from 1947 to 1997. On September 18, 1947, the United States Air Force became a distinct branch of the armed forces. Now also celebrating its 50th anniversary, the Air Force emerged from the fires of 2 world wars and matured into the world's premier air and space force. Today's world-class airmen carry on this legacy of excellence as they push the envelope of air and space dominance into the 21st century. The Berlin Airlift, achieving combat air superiority over the war-torn Korean Peninsula, tactical and strategic bombing amid some of the heaviest concentration of enemy air defense ever experienced in Vietnam, and sending shockwaves of mass destruction that shook the foundation of old-school aerial warfare doctrine during Desert Storm has proven the Air Force as an integral part of the United States fighting force. Along with the development of the F-22 Raptor and the B-2 stealth bomber, the men and women of the United States Air Force are ready to take the challenge of defending America's interests into the 21st century. Under the inspired leadership of Secretary of the Air Force, Sheila E. Widnall, today's Air Force can look forward to a boundless future of achievement, protecting our freedoms and serving our great nation for generations to come. Chief Master Sergeant Eric W. Benkin, Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, will transfer the colors from 1947 to 1997, signifying the changes in the golden legacy of the Air Force. The United States Coast Guard has served as one of the nation's military services since 1790. After the end of the Second World War, the Coast Guard resumed its peacetime activities, serving the nation in an increasing variety of duties. These include training the South Korean Navy and operating Lorentz stations for United Nations aircraft and ships, rescuing Navy flyers shot down in communist Chinese waters, and manning vessels that guarded U.S. ports. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, Coast Guard boarding teams operated from Navy warships during the blockade, implemented naval operations, severing the Viet Cong sea supply lines. Since Vietnam, the Coast Guard has continued to serve during conflicts. Cutters assumed patrol of the waters of Grenada soon after the U.S. intervention. Boarding detachments were once again deployed on Navy warships in the Persian Gulf, and recently the Coast Guard participated in Operations Able Manor and Uphold Democracy. The Coast Guard has always served proudly as one of the nation's armed forces. It may be the smallest armed service of the United States, but as its motto states, it has been always ready to stand in defense of the nation. Master Chief Eric A. Trent, Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard, will now transfer the Coast Guard colors from 1947 to 1997, portraying the past 50 years of service to the Department of Defense. As the 5 services have evolved since 1947, so has the Department of Defense. Throughout that evolution, however, the traditional core values have remained the same. Using those values as a stepping stone, the Department of Defense will readily confront the challenges and the uncertainty of today's environment. Led today by the Honorable William S. Cohen, the Secretary of Defense, the Department stands ready to support the nation's military objectives. Ladies and gentlemen, General Ralston.
Secretary Cohen, former Secretaries Weinberger, Carlucci, Perry, members of Congress, General Jones, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen. I'm very proud to be here today as the representative of the more than 3 million people currently serving in the defense of our nation as soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Coast Guardsmen, active duty, National Guard, Reserve, and civilians. And it's an honor to be a part of this splendid anniversary, a celebration to commemorate 50 years of unwavering leadership of our armed forces. Take a moment and put yourself back in time. 50 years ago, we had just won a world war, and the country was still celebrating its victory. The might of the military machine was not broken, at least not in the eyes of the American people. But we learned many lessons the hard way during that war, and the leaders that fought that war knew we could and should do better. These visionaries understood that standing still would put the United States back where we were before the war, as isolationists. Imagine, if you can, the resistance these men faced as they attempted to reorganize our armed forces, a force that only a year prior had defeated a deranged dictator and an imperial army and navy. These leaders, both military and civilian, realized the daunting task before them, but they charged forward amid intense debate and agreed upon a unification course. Although the reforms of 1947 were immense, 10 years later, the leaders of our country recognized the requirement for course correction and the Act of 1958, spearheaded by President Eisenhower, provided that course correction and called for the organization of all combat forces into unified commands. And as he stated, singly led and prepared to fight as one, regardless of service. With this new guidance, our armed forces marched on for over 25 years. In 1986, a significant change occurred with the enactment of the Goldwater-Nichols Act. It not only reinforced our joint warfighting doctrine, but it also strengthened the civilian authority in the department and increased the responsibility and authority of the chairman. Today we have an armed force that is the envy of every nation on this earth and the pride of Americans. Make no mistake, it's the magnificent men and women in uniform who make the sacrifices, who walk the jungles, fly over the deserts, sail on and under the seas, that provide the peace, freedom, and stability that we enjoy as a nation today. But we must resist the temptation to relax and believe we have it just right. We must fight the complacency. We have much left to do as we revolutionize the way we do business and as we make the hard choices that will always put the needs of America's sons and daughters in uniform first. Today, I proudly salute the men and women of the Department of Defense.
Ladies and gentlemen, Secretary Cohen.
General Ralston, Mrs. Ralston, Secretary Dalton, Secretary West, Secretary Woodnow, Janet, Senator Stevens, distinguished former Secretaries of Defense, who I'll say something about in a moment. The poet Shelley called history a cyclic poem written by time upon our memories. Let me describe a pivot point in history. It's a time of daunting security challenges both at home and abroad. In Europe, the United States is proposing a bold plan to advance democracy, free markets, and shared security. In the Pacific, America is the dominant power, but Korea remains dangerously divided, and China is in a period of profound transition, its future uncertain, its intentions unclear. And meanwhile, there are breathtaking advances in technologies that are fueling a revolution in military affairs, and America's defense establishment is reorienting itself to confront enormous security challenges of this new era. I could be talking about September of 1997, because that exactly captures the picture of today. But as history is a cyclic poem, this picture also describes September 1947, when the Department of Defense came into being. We've been making and marking many golden anniversaries of late. They're days of remembrance, a time to recall the historic trials and triumphs of half a century. The hallowed days, D-Day, VE Day, VJ Day, the historic deeds, the Marshall Plan, the National Security Act, and the enduring establishments like the United Nations, the U.S. Air Force, the Central Intelligence Agency, and of course, the Department of Defense. Why do we recall these triumphs and these trials? Because they help us to face the portents and the possibilities of the century ahead. And so as we talk of tomorrow, we always have to be mindful to hold up the lamplight of history so we may walk with confidence to the footpath to the future. Now, we're here today not to celebrate a golden anniversary of a bureaucracy or that of a building, but rather of a bold idea. That idea was for a national military establishment that unified all of our military services, land, sea, and air, under a single department with a civilian chief, the whole greater than the sum of its remarkable parts. By 1947, it was an idea whose time had come, and that generation who had won World War II had come out to win the peace. They understood that to win the peace, America had to be engaged in global affairs with a global leader. And they learned from personal experience, from that blood, sweat, tears, and toil, the central lesson of this history, of this century, that when America neglects the problems of the world often simply brings the problems to America's doorstep. And so they created a Department of Defense that would engage the world with gathered strength and purpose. And to witness the wisdom of this bold idea and its historic achievements, you only have to walk down the corridors of the Pentagon. You're going to walk past George Marshall's desk, a soldier who led our forces to victory against fascism, a diplomat who set forth a bold vision for a new Europe that was healed and whole and free, a Secretary of Defense who helped to halt the columns of communism on the Korean Peninsula. You will walk past a section of the Berlin Wall. Once a symbol of tyranny and peril, it's now a symbol of the triumph of freedom. And the triumph of a Department of Defense that trained, equipped, and maintained the U.S. Armed Forces, that gave America and our allies the will and stand fast and firm throughout those 40 winters of the Cold War, and gave us the opportunity to secure a lasting peace in both Europe and Asia. And as you walk the corridors of the Pentagon, you're going to see not only these artifacts of our trials and triumphs, but the individuals who endured those trials, who ensured those triumphs. You'll see the portraits of the military leadership, and also those who led this department, the Secretaries of Defense, some of whom have graced this ceremony here today with their presence. Secretary Cap Weinberger, perhaps one of the longest-serving secretaries in our history. Secretary Frank Carlucci, Secretary Bill Perry, and I would take note also of a distinguished gentleman, our present Secretary of the Army, Jack Marsh, whose long distinguished service to this country, both in the Congress and as Secretary, will long be remembered. Each one of you has protected and defended those who protect and defend our nation, and each one of you has left the department in better stead than when you arrived, and with a challenge to your successor to continue that legacy. And so I am honored and humbled to accept and extend this challenge. But the legacy of leadership extends to those who were ready and willing to be led. And as you walk these corridors, you're going to see the legacies of soldiers and sailors and airmen and Marines enshrined on our walls, from the Hall of Heroes that recall exceptional valor, to the exhibits that remember forgotten service, the Women's Military Corridor, the exhibits for the Hispanic veterans, and the Tuskegee Airmen. To walk these corridors is to learn of courage and commitment, of service and sacrifice, of grit and greatness, from the frozen hills of Korea to the twisted jungles of Vietnam, from Beirut to Grenada, Panama to Somalia, to the searing sands of Saudi Arabia and the mud and ice of Bosnia. And I dedicate our golden anniversary to their golden achievements. And in so doing, let me make a point which often becomes obscured in reports which focus on our flaws. As General Ralston has just said, we have the best trained, the best equipped, the best educated military in the history of the world. And we need to remember that despite our shortcomings, which we are eager to examine and to confront openly, our forces are the envy of every other nation on this planet. And so finally, if you walk the corridors of the Pentagon, you're going to meet the backbone of this institution, the civilian employees who serve this department and support our troops. The success of the department is their success as well. But as we recall all of our trials and triumphs of the past, we face new challenges, as General Ralston mentioned. In 1997, as in 1947, we have to build a Department of Defense that can face the dangers and the daring possibilities of the future. For a brave new world stretches out beyond these lawns, past those shining monuments across the river. It's a world of momentous opportunity, of flourishing markets, of stunning technologies, and new democracies. But it's also a world of startling new dangers, ethnic conflict, regional aggression, and terrorism. 50 years hence, let those who look back at 1997 say that we too were not just a building or a bureaucracy, that we too were bold, that we too were unafraid to think anew, to organize anew, and to act anew. And let them say by embracing the spirit of this era that we were able to seize the challenges of our time, to challenge to shape the world, to respond to its threats, to prepare for the future, to harness this revolution in military affairs, to give our forces the technology to dominate the battlefield, and to foment a revolution in business affairs to create a 21st century Pentagon, which will be a model of action, efficiency, economy, and versatility. 50 years from now, let them say that our leadership and our vision, our courage helped to catapult America into a new century. And 50 years from now, let them say that we bequeath to them what our predecessors have bequeathed to us: the best trained, the best equipped, the best prepared, the best led military in history, the pride of our nation, the envy of the world. And let me close with the words of Daniel Webster. who spoke at a dedication of the Bunker Hill Monument. He said, "And now let us indulge an honest exultation in the conviction of the benefit which the example of our country has produced and is likely to produce on human freedom and happiness. And let us endeavor to comprehend in all of its magnitude and to feel in all of its importance the part assigned to us in the great drama of human affairs." Thank you very much.
rise for the playing of the Armed Forces Medley. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Thank you for your attendance and enjoy your day.